So for those that know, I educate each and every one of my clients about how inflammation in their body is affecting their skin. And at the same time, working with them to find ways to reduce this inflammation that's showing up in their bodies, because it also helps with their overall health and longevity. So I like to look at the top 5 inflammation contributors for my clients. You've got diet, gut health, stress and nervous system regulators, hormones, and of course, toxic overload from products, environment, those types of things. And then I work with the individual to find the best way to reduce the inflammation. With the help of my guests, I've been able to provide so much information on these topics, and today is no different. Today, we are talking about the ways that omega-3, fish oil, EPA, DHA, however you would like to name it, how it helps reduce the inflammation in our bodies. And of course, to talk about this topic with me is Marg from Zenzino. How are we feeling today, Marg?
I'm great, thank you. I'm thrilled to be here.
So good. So Zenzino is a Scandinavian company. It specializes in test-based personalized nutritional supplements. And we will talk a little bit more about exactly what that means in a little bit. But I think for any of that to make sense, we need to begin with omega-3 and its significant impacts on our body's inflammation. So Marg, I'll let you take the rein on this.
Omega-3 is actually a fundamental nutrient that we all need, and unfortunately in our modern day diet today, it's really hard to source. And when we look at the science behind omega-3 supplementation, we're finding that they just are not delivering to the cell membrane. So a lot of the omega products on the market are oxidizing too quickly. Essentially, omega-3 is important in the body because it puts a brake on our inflammatory cascade. So it's super duper important. And I think today we no longer need to be guessing if we have enough omega-3 in our body. We actually have the ability to start testing our clients. And that's what has been a revolution in the omega-3 index, is to do a dry blood spot test to see if they actually are in omega balance.
Because that's one of the hardest parts, right? Like you're trying to figure out, well, how do I know? It's not like you can take a blood test from the doctors and go, yes, these are all the fatty acids that you're deficient in. It just hasn't been available until now.
No, that's right. So you can go to the doctor and have blood work done, and the doctor will tell you everything is fine. But what we're looking at in Zenzino is a nutritional biomarker. So we're looking at whole blood, which is very different to plasma. So plasma, when you go to the doctor and they're looking at the blood and it's influenced by what you've eaten in the last 24 hours or what you had yesterday. What we're doing at Zenzino is dry blood spot testing, and it's far more accurate. So we're analyzing 11 of your essential fatty acids, which is 98% of the most important fats for your health that you need to know about. The omega-3 that we're analysing, and omega-6, this balance, we talk about omega balance, is we're actually looking at that ratio at the cell membrane, and that is unique. I would recommend that if you are using an omega supplement, most definitely you should get tested, because what we have found is that 97% of the population are actually still deficient in omega-3, and that's quite shocking.
Yeah.
And the reason I was so shocked myself, because I had actually taken omega supplements for 20 years, and my friend suggested that I get tested. So I took the test, only to discover that I actually had an omega deficiency, and my omega balance, so we're looking at the omega-6-3 ratio, was high. So that's when I started to do a deeper dive into researching and understanding more about what this actually meant for my health, because I was in my early 50s and I was going through a lot of perimenopausal symptoms, joint pain, brain fog, low energy, poor memory, all the symptoms that perimenopausal women have. And when I understood that my omega supplement wasn't delivering and wasn't reaching my cell membranes, then I realized that I just needed to upgrade. So I started to use Zenzino's balance oil. And after taking it for 120 days, when I did my retest, I was actually in balance. But what was more remarkable for me was that within 3 weeks, my joint pain disappeared and my energy had lifted, my brain fog went, and so I was actually convinced that my body was responding, and I knew. But it's not just a knowing, it's actually seeing the data on paper. So when you've got the science to back up what you're taking and you can show a measurable change by looking at your before test and your after test, that's amazing. And no one else is doing this. And unfortunately, like I said, omega-3 is really hard to get through our diet because we just don't eat wild-caught oily fatty fish anymore. A lot of the fish is farm, so it's being fed in soil, so the nutritional content of a lot of oily fatty fish is not what we think of it is. And if you find wild-caught oily fatty fish, it's expensive and it's difficult to feed the family. And kids are not going to eat wild-caught oily fatty fish 5 serves a week, which is what you would need to maintain optimal target values.
That's what I was just about to ask. How many serves of fatty fish do you need to eat a week to get your optimal? Because I do talk to people about this and they're like, oh yeah, I have fish once on a Friday night or something like that. It's not enough, is it?
No. And this is the thing. So you don't need to guess anymore. You can actually test. So you can test to see, is what you're doing in your diet enough? It makes perfect sense to take the test and then correct, because having an optimal omega-3 value is so important. Yes, for our skin, because it improves elasticity, reduces inflammation, but it's also a biomarker for longevity. We know that if you have a low omega-3 index, then you actually are shortening your lifespan, because omega-3 is fundamental for every single system, every cell and organ in our body. This biomarker that we talk about, this omega-6-3 ratio, is absolutely the most important number you need to know about your health, because every single cell in our body has a phospholipid layer around it, so it has a fatty layer, and that's where the omega balance that we talk about needs to be. So if the omega balance is out, so that omega-6-3 ratio is high, and what I mean by high is the ratio should be 3:1 or lower, so 3 parts omega-6 to 1 part omega-3. If it's too high, that means you have chronic inflammation. And this is something that is beneath the surface. So you might look healthy and fit on the outside, but we're analysing what's going on at the cellular level. And this is the root cause of every single non-communicable disease is inflammation. So if we can correct this, then we can optimise our clients' health, and we can also slow the progression of certain disease processes down. And that is amazing. We see complete health transformations in so many of our clients when we bring them back into omega balance.
What you're trying to say is you've been testing for all these other diseases and all these other inflammation markers. Now there's a way to test for inflammation within a blood test, and converting back to how that relates to omega-3 deficiencies within the body. So for those that have been suffering with lots of inflammation and a myriad of diseases, they haven't yet tested for their omega-3 deficiency. So this could be the missing link as such to their health.
It's definitely a major piece of the puzzle. Like, chronic illness, there's lots of things going on, but the driver or the addressing the root cause is actually critical. I encourage everyone to get tested, and also being a midwife, I work with a lot of women who are trying to conceive and pregnant or breastfeeding. It's so important that as women we have optimal target values in our reproductive years, because obviously our babies require omega-3 for their brain development and their neural pathway development. So if a mother's deficient, then obviously target values for the baby is not going to be optimal as well. And that, obviously that has a cascade or flow-on effect for a mother and her child, and obviously developmental years ahead. There's so many areas that we could talk about, but when we look at chronic illness, yes, this is a preventative health measure. So we can test and we can track, and then we can correct and we test again, and we can show people that actually it has improved. Zenxino is the only company that are using a test-based approach. the formulation that we have is the only formulation on the market that can prove that it's working.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not saying that other products are not using clean fish or sustainably caught fish. What we're saying is that the formulations on the market have just what they've added back to the antioxidant to stabilise the omega-3 is just inferior. So I'll just explain what
Yes,
that means.
please.
When fish are sourced from the ocean, so in the ocean, the fish are eating the algae, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is the polyphenols, and that actually protects the omega molecules because they're very fragile. When the fish are sourced and collected and put through refining process, they actually strip out all the heavy metals and the microplastics, which is all the due diligence of what good companies will do. Once they've done that, they've stripped out the polyphenols, which protects the omega. So companies will then need to add back an antioxidant to stabilize the omega.
Okay.
They tend to add back something like vitamin E or rosemary oil, but this is very inferior antioxidant because what we've shown through scientific studies is that these formulations are oxidizing too quickly in the body. So they're just not as stable as what nature intended. Zanzino very cleverly have identified this, and then what they've done is they've added back the polyphenols into their formulation. Commercial grade fish oil oxidizes in about 9 hours in the body, and cod liver oil is about 15 hours. But when you put back the polyphenols, and we do it in the form of an olive polyphenol, so it's extra virgin olive oil. And as a consequence, then the omega molecules are stable for 35 hours. So that's why we see improvements in our results.
Right.
Yes, physiologically, the body then starts to respond because once we've got the omega-3 in the cell membrane and we've created more cell membrane fluidity, the cells then start to heal and repair, and they start to replicate healthy cells. This is where the testing comes into play, because when we test and we identify there's a deficiency in omega-3, we know then the cells don't have enough omega-3 on the surface membrane to allow fluidity or flexibility in the cell. Therefore, other nutrients don't readily enter the cell. Therefore, the mitochondria and the cell signaling are all compromised, and toxic waste doesn't escape. So our cells are constantly replicating themselves. If you don't have omega balance, your cells are replicating unhealthy cells. And that is what leads to the degeneration of the extracellular matrix. Left over a course of time, it leads to chronic degenerative disease, whether that's cardiovascular, immune, brain health. Everything over the course of time will start to be impacted, so all systems of the body. And that's what we're doing at Zanzino. We're just restoring cell membrane fluidity and allowing the body to function optimally and allowing the cells to absorb the omega-3 and then to start replicating healthy cells.
So it's a deeper conversation than just skin health.
Yes.
Yes. So I've been, obviously, as myself, I'm trained as a skin therapist. So I help people with their skin, but also their internal health at the same time. And I like to get my clients to use omega-3 because the way that the cells work, as you explained, you've got the cell membrane that's made up of this DHA, which your body can't replicate. You need to get from diets or supplements. And as those skin cells move up into the epidermis, they flatten out like a brick wall, and all of that fluid from the cell membrane oozes out, which makes our barrier or our lipid bilayer. And that's when a lot of people can be dehydrated or have barrier issues because they don't have enough DHA, EPA in that cell membrane. But what we're talking about here goes so much more deeper beyond skin, because all that inflammation that's happening within our body, as I said, diet, lifestyle, hormones, stress, everything we're surrounded with on a day-to-day basis is affecting the inflammation and increasing that within our body. And this is the one way that we can reduce that.
Exactly. And something that we notice, like skin is the largest organ of the body. So we noticed when you start to become in omega balance, your cells start replicating those healthy cells. So that's one of the first things you notice is a change in the skin. So the skin becomes more elastic, more dewy, more glowy, and that is wonderful for your clients. But then also you're going to be helping clients optimize their health. And I think a lot of people are focusing on internal health now.
Oh, yeah.
And wanting to incorporate this into their clinical practice as well as a skin therapist. So it's such a wonderful tool to use because it's science-based and it's data-driven. So you're actually showing measurable changes to your clients, but you're also showing them that this is a wonderful way not just to optimize their skin, but to improve their health and their longevity.
So for someone at home that's, say they're taking omega-3 supplements already. I know you said previously when you started making the swap to the Zenzino omega-3, you noticed in 3 weeks that inflammation had reduced, your joint pain had lessened, the brain fog had depleted. I do know, I've been taking omega-3s for a good decade at least. And I always say to people, you won't necessarily feel a change when you're on them. Is that because, I guess, as I've tested, I still am omega-3 deficient and I've just been taking the wrong ones? But you are meant to see a change in your body, is that right?
Yeah, well, this is the thing because, for example, you are the perfect example. So we tested you because you had taken a very highly regarded practitioner-only omega-3 for a long time, and your results showed that you still had a deficiency in omega-3. Your omega-3 index was low, and your omega-6-3 ratio was what we call semi-balanced. So there was no optimal target value. So that's the first thing. Now, you don't feel what we call silent chronic inflammation because it's happening beneath the surface at the cellular level. So you'll notice symptoms of chronic inflammation if they've been there for a long time, or they're starting to impact whichever part of the body it's targeting the most. Silent chronic inflammation is something you don't feel, and that's why it's so important to test. But once you've got that information, then it's important to correct it because then you can prevent certain conditions from occurring or degeneration of skin. We often hear that term like inflammaging. So you can have 2 women who are the same age, maybe 45, one looks 60, one might look 35, because one woman has more chronic inflammation than the other. So her skin has become more aged, more thin, more papery, more wrinkled. So she's just started to have more chronic inflammation. Yeah, that's interesting because I see these examples all the time. But you can see the physiology there. But what you're talking about is you didn't feel any symptoms, but you've just identified from the data that you've actually got a deficiency. So now we can work towards correcting that and repairing it. So it's 120 days. It's personalised dose by weight, which is really important. So commercial grade fish oils are still focusing on saying, well, we think, it's 1,500 milligrams or 2,000 milligrams a day, but that makes no logical sense, right? Because we all weigh different. So we all have different body weights, and our body requires different amounts of omega-3. And I know also in the skin industry, people sometimes recommend 2,000, 4,000, 6,000, maybe 8,000 milligrams. And that is also not healthy. It's expensive to keep up that protocol. But also, because it's oxidizing in the body, there's so much more oxidative stress going on when you're consuming such large amounts of commercial grade fish oil.
Of course.
Yeah, so the oxidation causes pro-inflammatory compounds in the body which are harmful. So that's counterproductive to what we're trying to do. The Zenzino Balance Oil is very, very unique because it doesn't oxidize in the body. It's stable long enough to reach the cell membrane, and we can prove that it's working by providing a test and a retest program over the course of 120 days.
So for those that want to know more about this test, so I had met Marg a few weeks ago and she came in and we tested right here in the treatment room. It was just a little pinprick of my blood that we pop down, gets sent away to the lab, gets tested, and then I get emailed all the detailed results, and then I can have a conversation with a nurse to explain those details, right? It was fascinating because I was like, it's it's not going to be that bad because I've been taking omega-3, EPA, DHA, as I said, for well over a decade. So I'm like, it's going to show quite high. It wasn't terrible, but it was a lot worse than what I actually thought it was. What was it? It was like minus 46% that I was low in EPA.
Which is shocking when you think about it.
Yeah.
And this is what I say, like, people are taking supplements thinking they're doing the right thing, but they just don't realise these products are oxidising in the body.
Yeah.
So, this is why we're wanting to raise awareness and say, hey, you don't need to take products that are causing pro-inflammation in your body. We want to raise awareness and say, hey, if you are taking a supplement, get tested. It's so important. And upgrade to a safe, affordable protocol that can prove it works. And you can also see the benefits long term.
Because we want to be lowering that inflammation within our body, and that's the whole reason why we're taking an omega-3 supplement. But as you said, if you've got an omega-3 that's quickly oxidizing before it hits the cell membrane, you're adding to that oxidative stress within the body. So you're further damaging your body and creating a lot more inflammatory cytokines than what we need.
Absolutely. I absolutely am loving educating people and also testing people, because that's where the awareness starts and the understanding. You can do a deeper dive and look at the research and really see how impressive the results are, because the test that we use is an independent third-party test. That's very, very important. Zeno don't own the laboratory. Vitas Analytical Lab is a world-class dry blood spot laboratory in Norway, and we only use one laboratory. So we send the tests from our Brisbane office in Australia. We ship them 3 times a week to Norway, and the results are back in 2 to 3 weeks. But by then, you've already got started on your program, and when the results come back, like you said, we have a little consultation and we talk through the results. But it's it's a pathology test, but it's also a 20-page document that is like an educational tool in itself. So it helps you understand, what do these fats mean and what does the ratio mean? Where do I find these sources of fats? And it's backed by 50 literature references. So this is why we have so many clinics and functional medicine doctors, dietitians, naturopaths, so many people who are now using these protocols in their clinical practice because they love the science and the data behind the proof of the concept. So these biomarkers that we're testing, they're actually globally recognized. And so the omega-6-3 ratio is something that a lot of people haven't heard of. So we're measuring that. And obviously yours wasn't in optimal target range, which I get is quite eye-opening when you've been taking an omega supplement for so long. But the other omega-3 index that's measured is the omega-3 index. So a lot of people have heard of that. What was surprising with your result was, even though you and I had taken a really good quality omega supplement, we still had a low omega-3 index, and that was what shocked me the most. I know people may not know, but your omega-3 index needs to be 8% and above. And what we're seeing with people taking commercial grade fish oil, they're coming in around a 5% or a 6%, but no one is coming in above 8%. And that is quite disturbing. That's why we're so interested in getting our clients tested and upgrading to a product that actually works.
Yeah, 100%. I'm actually really impressed and just fascinated by testing. I love testing. Everybody knows I just am obsessed with it. When I have a client come in, I'm like, have you been to a naturopath? Have you been tested for XYZ? Because it all correlates. Our skin is a mirror. It's showing us everything that's happening internally within our body. So these test results just blew me away, because I don't think I was ready for the actual answers, but I'm glad that I did it. And as I said, I've been on omega-3 supplements for 10 years. So I know a lot of my clients already are on omega-3 supplements. And if you did want to get tested and maybe convert over to a range that's going to make a difference on a cellular level, Margaret, how do we do that?
What is so wonderful, the protocol that Zeno have set up, is actually, it's a 6-month cellular correction program. Because we want to make it affordable for people to stay on the program. The way to start is to use your link, because it can get you what we call a starter pack. So you can actually buy a test kit and be provided 2 months supply of the oil to get started. And then it gives you the biggest discount. So it's less than a cup of coffee a day, half a cup of coffee a day to take the oil. So it's so affordable. And you just can then go on to a monthly payment, and it's a bi-monthly delivery. So that is the most affordable way to stay on it. And during that process, because it's a 4-month test and retest program, that's why we've set it up for this 6-month cellular correction program. So people can get started. You're not locked in for life. If you didn't want to continue, you can stop. But we can't accelerate the biology of our cell, and we need to really see out the 6-month program. That's where you'll see the best results. But as I said, for me, I started noticing changes after 3 weeks, and a lot of people who have symptoms of certain things start to see changes before their 4-month second test. What I love about the starter kit is, yes, you're buying the test kit and 2 months supply of oil up front at a heavily discounted price, but the second test actually is free.
Okay.
Yeah. The other thing too, like if you took the test and your result comes back and you are in all optimal target ranges, so you're doing a great job, whatever you're doing is working, the company will give you your money back for the cost of the test.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
I do appreciate that.
And it makes it easy, so you don't have to come back into the clinic to pick up another bottle. It gets shipped directly to your house. Every 2 months you can get 2 bottles.
Perfect. Yeah, and you do capsules as well. I myself, I'm just a capsule person. I love a capsule. I hate the taste of capsule.
Okay.
Although I have had a Enzino bottle, and it does taste different to the other fish oils I've taken in a liquid, but I'm still a capsule gal.
Yeah, so we do have capsules for people, and I like the capsules when I'm traveling. But we also have a water-soluble, which is called Aqua Excess, again, is unique.
That's right.
Yeah,
Yes. Let's
so-
talk about this.
So this is a patented product that a lot of the fish oil industry hasn't recognised, that people with gallbladder or chronic liver disease, bariatric surgery, they don't metabolize fat well. So Enzino formulated a product that has Aquacell in it, and it allows the oil to disperse into micro droplets. So therefore it's 10 times more absorbable by the body. And we also have a vegan oil as well.
Read my mind. I was just
Yes.
about to mention that, because I do have
So-
a few clients who are vegan.
Yeah, so again, I've tested a lot of people on vegan products, and they have huge deficiencies because the formulation is oxidizing. If you're using a vegan product as well, get tested for sure, because I think you might be surprised. And then the vegan oil is from my and it is combined with oil as well.
Okay.
And I think what's been really interesting is that our protocols have been so well received in the beauty industry and in clinics. It's a nice add-on tool that people can use and offer testing in clinic, and then focus on integrating it into their offerings, because people are looking for solutions. And instead of going out to buy products, that there's overwhelm of what's good, what's not good. I think that's what clinics are now offering, because they want to use formulations that are absolutely evidence-based.
Yeah, because Enzino is not a product you can just grab off of the shelves, is it? It's more
No.
like you need to be...
Yeah, you need to, it's an e-commerce, direct-to-consumer. So we have lots of clinics that they're just using the products in their clinical practice, and that is fantastic. So you need to know someone who is actually distributing the protocols.
Perfect. I love this conversation. If anyone of our listeners have any questions in relation to how omega-3 responds within our body, what it's good for, what it's needed, or just wanted to replay this podcast and have another listen of it, or reach out to myself on my Instagram or via my website, and I'll be able to definitely share with you a lot more information about it, because it is an important conversation to have, you know. So many of us are driven through so much inflammation on a day-to-day basis. So finding a way that's actually going to reduce that, so needed. Oh, Mark, thank you so much for coming in. I hope you enjoyed your facial treatment.
I have loved every moment. Thank you so much. I feel great.
We actually used today, it's a new clean Korean brand. It's absolutely phenomenal. It's called Wamisa. So for those who love the K-beauty trend, the Wamisa brand is so phenomenal and gentle on the barrier as well. You've got these beautiful algae masks. So they're sheet masks made out of algae, shaped to the face. So me and my son actually used those the other day, which was quite a nice Mother's Day way to pamper ourselves. It's a beautiful range. We've used the Cactus Bouncy Serum, the flower, it's very flower botanical.
It smells great.
Delicious, right? And your skin's just bounced back so well from it. It looks really good. But I appreciate you coming in for this conversation. I think I want to get you in again soon, because what I want to do is have another conversation about gut testing.
Yes.
Okay.
That's going to be a whole other topic.
That's a whole other kettle of fish, and I think we'll be here all day again talking about that. So we'll do that separately on a different podcast, but we'll get you back again soon to talk about that. What do you think?
That'd be great. I'd love that.